This video help will cover adding a new appointment and using the Edit Appointment screens to go ahead and detail the information for that appointment. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click on the current date. If this is going to be for the current date, for me it's May 20th, 2013. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and click the plus sign by the daily appointment. Now you should have some idea before you actually start the appointment information as to who the client is and what you're going to be doing with that client as far as is it an appointment for a sale? Is it a contact where you're going back to talk to the person? Are you dispatching something as far as a delivery? Are you going to install hardware or equipment? Are you going to move a piece of hardware or equipment? Pick up a piece of hardware or equipment? Is this a rental where you're actually going to do a rental over a period of time? And then there's a sales calendar where you're going to track all your sales, and the service calendar. As I said before, you can add another calendar and it'll show up on this listing from the drop down that was on the front screen. Now, one of the key things about the calendars as you add them, as a person goes in and makes a new appointment, an individual, the information that is in the calendar as far as the type of transaction in the appointment should tell you that you need to put it in one of these categories or calendars. For example, if it's a sales, and we'll say that this is what this is a sales appointment, put a check in the checkbox so that the information that you're adding at the top of the screen shows up in the actual sales calendar. The first thing you normally do in a sales transaction or appointment is to type out exactly what it is so that when it shows in the calendar, you can tell what kind of a thing that you're doing on that particular appointment. If this is sales for a current client, you can actually jump over here and look to see if that client is in the booking and information for clients listing. This has got just a few sample records that I created for examples, but if you had all of your clients, they would be in alphabetical order in this listing. And then if they had a company involved, you could add the company that is the one that for that customer as well in here. And as you might note that there's a name at the end of these so you can tell which client is which as far as what was put in here by their company name. So in this case, let's just go ahead and add me, and you'll see that I'm going to come over here and add the other information. And in this case, it's a sales call, and it's we can make up anything. For example, for an let's say that this is a new transaction. Now, what you can do if you want to is you can also do the name of the person in the actual appointment to add more detail to it so that you know when you look at the calendar who is the person that is related to this and what the actual transaction or what event is. As far as if it were a delivery, it'd be a delivery and that information. Now, we're not going to actually put the physical delivery on this screen as far as where it's going to be because this is actually an individual appointment, and that would be a delivery type or install type of a transaction. The next thing we want to do is we're going to drop down here and put the kind of icon on the calendar that this is. In this particular case, we're going to call this one a pending, well, let's say a contact. So we have a contact in this particular thing. We're going to actually go out and visit the client. These can also be edited in the preference part of the main calendar when we were looking at the main screen for the calendar. You can add these or change them. And if you need assistance, which I think you would unless you go directly to the online help to add new things, this is what you could do is edit those. The next thing you're going to do is it automatically put the date in for the transaction. In this case, if you click on it, you'll see that it is that date. This is the start of the appointment date. This is the due date. It can be also the end date as well, as far as the finish is concerned. If this were going to last over a period of days where you have to go and come, for example, if it's an installation, you could put the range of dates starting with the date you first start and then the ending date. Then you put the start date time that you would start this transaction for the appointment and the end date time for the final date of this. This is used to track where employees are and what has to be done for completion with any one client. And down at the bottom of the calendar, you'll see there is a thing called equipment assignment. This is actually the sales and also assignments. What this is for is that you have the equipment name. It comes through a drop-down in the actual main screen, and the type of appointment that it might be, as far as if it is a demo, if a demo is done already or completed, you need to call back, pending sale quote, repeat the demo, cancel it, or a sale is made, or a sales lead period is a new one. Now, this information that actually is in these individual lines will move down based on the date. The date is what actually starts the process. So if you add a date here and it's the newest date, you'll notice that the top always shows the newest dates on the schedule, and it pushes everything down. There's also a drop down for the status on this particular event that you can change from this screen. Basically, these are all started. Each individual one of these is started actually on the back end of the system, where you go to the main part of the application and you do one of the following. If it's a new client that has not been added to the booking screen for customers yet, you would go to the booking listing and add that new client. When you add the new client, then go ahead and put in what the transaction is as far as the sales information on that screen. You can also go to another screen and do the service, if it's about service, where you're returning to do a service call, or it may be a rental where you can also go to that same service screen and create a service plan and schedule as well. You can get to those screens by clicking on the icon at the end of the row, which is the screen icon. For the individual appointment that you created when you did the booking, you go to the booking screen and then edit this over there, and then here you can edit these two pieces, which is the equipment status and the sales status. The sales status obviously is for demos and whatever you're doing as far as sales. The equipment status is an equipment issue where it is either going to be installed, delivered, or picked up, or some other transaction like that. Now on this screen also, you can, if you click on this button, which you saw on the main screen in here, what this does is it shows you or hides the menus that you would see at the top of the screen. The reason you do that is, like on the iPad or iPhone, they take real estate you're viewing. You can click this, and what it does is it changes the screen so it hides those, so they're out of the way, so you can get more screen area. I want to point out right now that on this application, if this was designed and put on a server, you would need to submit the record if edits were done. And when you finish with the transactions where you're adding the edit, just click the submit button, or if you do not want to keep the changes, you cancel it. The reason for that on the server is that it takes all the fields and holds them in memory. When you click submit, then it adds them to the server record. That is not necessary if you're using it on another device like a desktop, Mac PC, or other device like a browser. On the browser, if you're on a server, yes, it would cause you to have to use this. On this screen, there's also an additional thing where you can add your own custom properties, where you can change these or add them to a list, and you can put a little comment right here on the other side about completed or still pending as far as each one of these items are concerned that you add. Estimation of time is an on-site estimation where if you want to track like a delivery, you can put an estimated time on there, and on the actual edit appointment screen, it'll show a bar at the top of the screen for completion based on the actual time that you put in here. And as you complete the time and add the time amount, it will decrease the amount of time left in the bar. There's also a to-do list, and what the to-do list actually does is you can put an immediate statement in here, but then if you want to track individual steps within this transaction over here, you click the plus and it'll add a record here for each person or event that occurs during this. For example, if you do equipment where you actually would rent equipment for a short period of time, and there's the delivery, there's the install, and there's the return or replacement of the items, you would track that all in the detail part, but you would put the basic part within the to-do list. This information is vital as far as your CRM is concerned, keeping track of all the transactions and all the events that are occurring. There's also areas on the main booking side of the application where you can track additional information in that detail area on that side of the screen. So what we've covered now, let's do a highlight. We added the event and the person. We added the person and their company if they have one. We've added the type of icon that was required as far as what shows on the calendar. We can also put a priority of low, medium, and high as far as the requirement. We have the date time schedule as far as the appointment is concerned. And the next thing we want to do is just let's add a time in here so you can see when the appointment starts so that it shows up on the main screen. And we're going to say that we're going to be done at 11 o'clock on the final date in the morning. So we can see that as far as the calendar is concerned. We picked what transaction calendar this should be shown in. If you want to have your additional employee calendars in here, you would add a check mark for whatever employees would be affected by this appointment. In addition to that, we went down and looked at the assignments as far as equipment and the sales status and to-do list, and we covered about the server. There is a little repeat up here which may not be used but as far as typically, but what this allows you to do is if you have an event that is going to reoccur over a period of time, for example, it's going to repeat every 1, 2, 3, 6, 12 days, whatever, and or every week, month, or year. So you could add those in there. It's part of the calendar. If you want to use it, you do not have to. Anytime you see an orange X like this on the screen, it's a delete button that allows you to delete either this local information or at the top of the screen when you finally get to the edit appointment screen, it will show you a delete at the top to delete an entire appointment. So when you're done doing this, you would click the close box here to return to the main screen, and then you would see the transaction we just added with all the information. Then you would track it from this screen, and you would see it either the week, month, or year. It would show up in those calendars. Okay, this is the end of this tutorial. Now go to the next tutorial, which is going to be the main menu, and we're going to explain the main menu.